Banditry in the northwestern flanks of Nigeria continues to stretch out the country's human and material capabilities, which is badly needed to close out the war on terror. The governors of the states in that corridor appear to have been overwhelmed by the ferocity of the miscreants, many of them cross-border bandits from the Sahel region. But many security experts have been questioning the preferred approach of these governors towards finding a solution to the problem. Joining us now to talk about this is Dr. Kabir Adamu, a security expert and public policy analyst. Welcome to the program, Doctor. Good morning.
Hello, Dr. Adamu. Can you hear us from the studio here in Lagos? Hello?
Yes, I can hear you, Dr. Ruben. Good morning.
Good morning. Good to see you. Happy New Year. Well, so much is happening in the security sector.
Thank you. And
so much is happening in the security sector.
Quite unfortunate, really.
Yes, and we would like you to comment on those key issues. One, the departure of the security chiefs and the appointment of new ones, and their designation subsequently as likely ambassadors by President Buhari. Second, the extension of the tenure of the Inspector General of Police. And then, of course, the crisis in the Southwest region, particularly. What else do we need to do? New security chiefs, an Inspector General of Police having 3 more months. What else must we do? You've been on this program so many times. You've offered all kinds of suggestions. Okay, now that there's been some change with regard to the security chiefs, what should they do?
Thank you, Dr. Ruben. My core field is called security risk management. And the objective of security risk management is to identify risks even before they happen and then put forward solutions. So I'm very happy with your question, mainly because I'm very worried about the development within our polity as far as security is concerned. The first 2 things you mentioned, the extension, the appointment or nomination of new service chiefs, and then the extension of the tenure of the Inspector General of Police. I don't think these 2 things will have any meaningful impact on the security situation. In fact, if anything, they would add to the political rhetorics that have been happening and that are further, adding to the tension within the country. As you're aware, different interpretations have been given the 2 developments. Now, the last point, which is the issue around, banditry and, what has happened in the Southwest, the response of Northern, that's the one that worries me most. I've seen your articles on this topic. It's something that I find quite worrisome, the ethnic as well as the religious dimension of these 2 developments. Now, if there is anything that can tear Nigeria apart, it's these 2 things. And unfortunately, the banditry issue and the interpretation the banditry issue has been given is tearing at these 2 very important issues. So I think this is the time to de-escalate. I have had various leaders, starting from government, given the authority that government has, down to traditional leaders, as well as socio-political groupings across the country. I've had statements made by each and every one of them, and unfortunately those statements are tied more or less to either ethnic or regional affiliations. And unfortunately, this is not what we need at this moment in time. We are at a very critical stage of our history, where if we don't manage and de-escalate this tension, I think, unfortunately, like Wole Soyinka mentioned, it could lead to either some form of inter-community conflict or even civil war. So to that extent, to answer your question directly, what can we do? Number one, we need leadership. There are 27 ministries, departments, and agencies in Nigeria that are responsible for security. Unfortunately, we focus too much on the military. We need to look at the other 23 beyond the 4 that are squarely military organizations. And as an example, why are we not questioning the role of the customs and immigration as far as border protection is concerned? Just yesterday in Zamfara, an amnesty program, whatever we want to call it, led to bandits turning in some weapons. I'm sure you saw those weapons. Those are military-grade weapons. They came in through our borders, most likely from either Libya or Mali. And what agency is responsible for border protection? It's immigration and customs, not the military. So we need to focus on those organizations as much as we're focusing on the military as well. In other words, what are their responsibilities? Why are they not meeting those responsibilities? The kind of hue and cry that we gave the service chiefs, let's also focus on this organization so that we start demanding from them accountability. And where they are failing to meet those responsibilities, we call for a change in that leadership and for the entire 27 ministries, departments, and agencies. Secondly, is coordination within the security subsector, the architecture as a whole. Coordination is currently missing. There are several councils, security councils. Let's start from the National Defense Council, the National Security Council, and then, of course, even within the intelligence community. These councils need to meet regularly as provided for in the Constitution so that they can address these issues. And speaking to that, I would strongly advise the presidency to convene the National Security, an expanded one, National Security Council, where they would involve, aside from the chairman, Mr. President himself, the vice president, and then the several other ministries, departments, and agencies, the security advisor, the Minister of Defense, Minister of Interior, and then the Inspector General of Police. They should also include the 36 state governors, as well as the leadership of the National Assembly and representatives from the judiciary. My reason for saying this is it's going to be a very good forum to address this issue and de-escalate the current tension so that we take away the regional and ethnic dimension that the issue is taking. If all of these leaders meet together, discuss the issue, and come out with a joint and united front on it, I think it would reduce the ethnic and regional dimension that the issue is taking. And then, of course, lastly...
Do go ahead, just in 30 seconds, if you can.
Yes. Okay, I was going to talk about intelligence. We talk about community policing and its role in gathering intelligence, and I cannot understand why we're failing to implement the community policing that has already been gazetted as far back as 2019. So this is the time to really look critically at that, and I would also urge the media to play that role. Some of the rhetorics, especially the use of profiling and stigmatization of a certain ethnic group by some components of the media, I think this is the time to stop that. Instead of that, let's look critically at the issues, which is criminality, and then seek ways to address that criminality. Intelligence can help us in doing that.
Thank you for that, succinctly put. Yes, this whole crisis is really hitting us in our fault lines, isn't it? And it's serving to try to cement the unfortunate tendency we have in Nigeria towards tribalism. I know that's not necessarily your forte, but it is part of the huge risk that we face. I want you to address that specifically on a larger scale. What can be done to address that? Briefly, in a few seconds, if you can.
Well, I talked about profiling and stigmatization. When you use the word Fulani herdsmen, I mean, nothing goes beyond that. That's pure profiling. I use the simple analogy. When you go to a primary school now and ask a primary school pupil, what is Fulani herdsmen? The likelihood, based on the portrayal of recent portrayal of Fulani herdsmen, the people will tell you it's a violent person holding an AK-47, when in reality it's actually a profession. So we need to come back from that and reduce the use of that. The world is talking about diversity, inclusion, as well as empowerment. So why shouldn't we also be talking about that? Yes, we are against open grazing. Instead of the kind of rhetorics that are based on ethnic and tribal, we should now focus attention. We've got a legislature, and we have representatives from the 36 states of the Federation, and Abuja pressure them to pass a law. And of course, the northern state governors have also supported ranching. So these are the ways to go against the type of political passion and profiling and stigmatization that I'm
Thank you very much, Dr. Kabir Adamu. That's all we'll be able to take on today's program.